Hi, Internet. So, I'd like to talk about a particular genre of game, what I really like about it, and more importantly, how the genres influence my creativity offline and how it improves my life overall. I'm going to talk a bit about some games I mentioned in the last video because today we're discussing survival building games. Besides being full of fantasy elements such as exploring magical places, fighting monsters, and getting a full night's sleep, builders give you control over a space in a way that lets you decide how that space is used and how it feels to be there. What is survival building? Let's talk about some elements that make up the genre. The first thing that makes a game a survival building game is survival mechanics. It also is often the first set of challenges you encounter in the game. Different games go about this in different ways, but basically the environment presents you challenges that you have to overcome, and you usually do this by means of making better gear or building structures. Things like constantly degrading hunger and thirst meters against which you make food, cold and heat effects against which you would build a structure, and monsters against which you make weapons, defenses, and hit them with stuff until they die or go away. The other set of mechanics that go into the genre are the building and crafting mechanics, which is mainly of interest to us today. Some games offer more freedom than others with these systems. This is on a scale of from free building to placing down prefabricated structures. Some of these games are open and sandboxy, others are story-driven, and some sit right in the middle. Some of my takeaways from the genre overall are that these games let me be creative, which is really cool when I'm not busy with other stuff and need an outlet. The more freedom I have to build, the more comfortable I feel in the spaces I make. And I really hate hunger and thirst mechanics. Now, once you get past the survival stuff, meaning you've built yourself a base and a farm, you have a renewable source of food and other things to stop your bars from going down and can access those without too much trouble, the game then becomes primarily about crafting and building. Unless you're working on lots of quests and things in a game with lots of story, or the game chooses to throw more challenges at you once you've passed this point. Some games take it easy on you and can get pretty cozy and comfortable once you're here. You can craft and build to your heart's content without too much trouble. Though again, there are usually some challenges that show up to ruin your day. This is when you get into building sprawling bases, homes, towns, and cities. Some of these games let you hire NPCs to automate low-level gathering and help remove grinding tasks. You start to feel more settled at this stage. In some cases, this is also your time to really go out exploring. You can find new materials or create more powerful items and weapons or stronger materials to protect your structures. So what do we learn from these things that can make our lives better and our crafting more fun? Once our basic needs have been met in the shop environment, we can really set up our space in a way that's pleasing to us and that makes our work much easier, meaning that once you get the basic tools you need, you can start getting really experimental and looking for more experimental tools and more experimental processes. The way we create space for ourselves in our shop is vital to our creativity. You need to feel comfortable and happy in your space in a way that lets you relax enough to let your mind open up and really get creative. This is the case for fabricators, for painters, for musicians, for people who make dioramas out of junk. I've used my in-game workshop setups as inspiration for how I set up my real workshop. Spend some time building a fantastic castle in a weird fantasy world, and I guarantee you'll get inspired to go and decorate your workshop. In the same way that our own space influences how we work, the setting of a game really changes the way we build and create. Minecraft, for instance, puts us down into a part of a procedurally generated world that gives us challenges to work with, like figuring out what materials we have immediately available and how we build around or alter terrain to fit our needs. In No Man's Sky, yes, I know it's a space exploration game, but a significant portion of the game is spent figuring out what to make to survive in harsh conditions on a given planet, so it counts for the purposes of this video. The game puts us in an environment whose challenges we have to overcome with limited resources before we can repair our ship and get airborne to progress the story and start exploring space. Once we get comfortable, Valheim, for instance, makes us travel to new locations and explore increasingly dangerous environments with new and more difficult enemies. Otherwise, we get stuck and can't progress any further. Nightingale has us crafting our own custom realms to explore so that we can find new resources. These realms are full of challenges that we have to complete, and you can mix up the environmental properties to make it easier, or to increase the challenge if you're into pain. Fallout 76 hits us with event after event, and we have to fight to survive. I know this one's controversial, especially since the hunger and thirst mechanics don't really do much anymore, but at least for a while it was much more survival-oriented. What do all of these things teach us? As I said before, the space you're in changes your creativity in ways you might not realize until you're there. By extension, if you're feeling a little stuck, you should find another space that feels different and see what that sparks. Go out for a walk, travel to another city or town or country, find new places to be creative in, and take what you learn back home. The trick is to get out of your comfort zone. You'll find yourself learning to do things you never realized you could. You can meet new people and try new things. All right, let's focus for a moment on things we need. We talk a lot about making art and building stuff that's pretty to look at, but what about when you need to make something because you need to have that thing and can't get it another way for one reason or another? How are these experiences presented in survival building games? You mostly start out running around in your underwear grabbing berries from bushes and hitting trees with your fists in these games. As you progress to higher levels, these actions are much easier. Trees take fewer hits to knock over, and the angry boars are one-hit kills. The thing is, you're bored with this. So what's a high-level armor-clad warrior to do? Well, you have to automate. Build a farm so you don't have to spend time running around in the woods. A lot of the time, in games with higher tier items and weapons, you're the new guy. All you can make is a stick with a rock tied to it, and you run into encounters that are made for someone much stronger than you, or with better gear or more experience. But you shrug your shoulders and you hit stuff with the stick you made, fully expecting to meet your death. But no, you come out the other side. You and your rock stick did it. Amazing. You're good at improvising. Now, when I need or want something, I get really frustrated when I have to go through a bunch of menus and options to get to it. This gets so bad sometimes that I won't even bother a lot of the time. Now, I have, and I won't mention which game it was, not the one on screen right now, refunded a game on Steam because of the number of menus and options I had to rifle through just to build one thing. And if you know one thing about me from the last video, I like to get to work on stuff. I hate things that make me wait or waste valuable crafting time. On the topic of needful objects, sometimes we can make art out of something that we think of as mundane, like if you need a wall to defend against monster attacks, spend some time putting up lights and decorations and being really extra about it to really impress your friends when they join you on the server. So what did we learn? Tasks get pretty complex when we've got a lot of work to do on a project. The more complex they are, the more likely we are to be put off the task entirely. Simplify. Write things down. Set up your space so that you aren't looking through boxes of tools to find something when you need it. Just like how you'd hate to look through tons of menus to find the option you're looking for. You will learn, whether you're looking to or not, that you can improvise with what you have and make what you need when you need it, rather than giving up because you don't have the right part or tool. Sometimes you have everything you need. We learn that we can find beauty in things we tend not to think much about because they're mundane. You'll learn to find beauty in small places and in simple things. We can find ways to make our tasks more efficient, new tools to speed something up, a simpler and faster way of doing something that's otherwise tedious and takes up our time. Look for those little shortcuts, and you'll be way better at using time without feeling like you're wasting it. Harvesting and gathering resources in a survival builder gives us a chance to see how our needs and actions impact the world around us. There are a lot of lessons we can take from this. At least I find that I'm more conscious of certain things when I spend a lot of time playing a game, and then peek my head out and go outside and, see my shadow. It's really easy to get carried away. Sometimes you want a castle or a wall or just a really nice view. Now what? You're out of trees. Time to go into the dark place and hit some more trees. Or you could try and spend time replanting some of the ones you chopped. Now you could have done this from the beginning though and saved yourself having to do it all now when you really need the wood. It's often wise in certain games to prioritize spending some of your time building infrastructure to allow for renewable resources to respawn, rather than just quickly going and getting more from another spot. Not all games have this feature, but some do, and it's wise to take advantage of them. Not everyone will agree with me here, but I think that it's important to spend time thinking about how I can be using materials in a way that reduces waste, as well as looking specifically to replace non-renewable materials with renewable ones. It's not just about me, it's about making sure that I can help preserve the ecosystem that produces the things I need to keep creating. Let's talk about terraforming for a second. In some games, this is just a fancy way of describing shoveling dirt from one place to another. In others, you end up stuck on top of earthen walls or getting lost in your own moat. Game physics really do allow us to do some amazing things with dirt. One thing we can do really effectively is move water from one place to another or prevent enemies from getting to our precious gems and berries. You too can use your environment to make your space into what you want. If you look around at your yard or the space nearby and you don't have a place to build your forge or put your garden in, pick up a shovel and move some dirt around. You'd be amazed at what you can accomplish. Need a hill? Build one out of rocks and dirt. Need a pit? Dig one. If you can't think of anything, log into a game for some inspiration. Playing these games hasn't just changed how I interact with space and the places around me, but it's changed how I interact with myself. One thing that's really changed how I learn things is that instead of my head being a huge bucket full of measurement conversions and fart jokes, I've come to see it as a sort of computer that I have to organize in a way that lets me put in what I need, and access it when I want. I'm talking about exactly what it sounds like here. Creating an external organizational schema to organize your thoughts if you find that you're having trouble doing so without further guidance. Be it by making up your own skill tree or simply by organizing a file cabinet. Take this away from the games you play, and if you can't figure out how, play more games and check out the way they organize skills and abilities. So this has really been a video about learning how to be creative when it seems like you're out of ideas. I find that you can get a ton of inspiration by building in games like Valheim or figuring out what weapon to craft in Nightingale for a particular boss fight. I think games like Fallout can get you thinking about how to organize your thoughts and space around you efficiently. So if you're looking to get creative with your space, your workshop, or your projects, but are finding yourself stuck, pop onto a game like Valheim, Nightingale, or Minecraft. You'd be surprised how well it pushes you to be creative by working around the limitations and challenges it puts in front of you. So that's it for the video this week. I'll be back with another one soon. Don't let frost trolls knock down your barricades. And until next time, bye, Internet.